So hi, I'm Jen Vanderhoven, Director of the National Horizon Centre, and thanks for joining us today for In Conversation with the NHC, where we talk to key leaders about current and future challenges and opportunities in the bioscience and healthcare sectors. And today I'm very excited to be talking to Clive Dix, who is the CEO of C4X Discovery, and he also worked with the Vaccines Task Force for over a year, chairing it for the last 5 months. So thanks for joining us today, Clive. It's great to be with you. Do you want to start by just telling me a bit about yourself and your career and how that led up to you leading the Vaccines Task Force?
Yeah, sure. So my background is I'm a PhD pharmacologist originally in both academia and then joined the industry, the pharmaceutical industry. I left the major companies when I was director of research for Glaxo Wellcome. And then I started what I call my second career, which was working with smaller biotech companies. I was the R&D head for PowderJect, and then I founded a company called PowderMed and a few others. And since then, I've been helping small companies either as in a capacity as chairman or as a non-exec. And during that phase, I also was the chairman of the BIA. So I've done a lot with the sector, if you like. Now I'm currently the CEO of a small innovative drug discovery company called C4X Discovery, as you mentioned. But one of those companies I founded, which was PowderMed, was a vaccines business. And I spent a lot of time working on vaccine development and understanding vaccines and understanding flu and the pandemic, and was involved then in helping put together the pandemic preparedness program for the government. And then, so when this pandemic came, I raised my hand and I phoned Kate Bingham up the day before it was announced that she was going to be the chairman or the leader of the task force, and said, "I'm here if you need me." And she said, "I need you, start work." And so I started work sort of immediately to help the task force get people in who could help find the vaccines that we know are not there.
Wow, that's such an exciting thing to be part of. And really, it's quite, it's historical now how the vaccine's been developed and rolled out just so quickly. So how did the government manage to get a successful vaccine developed and the rollout started in less than 300 days?
Yeah, so I think what you have to do is look back at the history of vaccine development. We know that there was a huge amount of academic work going on the right vaccines, the right antigens for vaccines, the right platforms to put them in, and not just for COVID, but for SARS and MERS and flu. That was all going on. And so as soon as it was realized there was a vaccine required, these companies, these manufacturers, and some academics, which was obviously the Oxford one was an academic group, they started working on those. And the important thing to note really is that the speed at which the vaccine was developed was down to the companies that developed them, not the fact that the Vaccine Task Force chose the ones that were developed first. And that was our bit, that's the bit we played. We looked at them and said which ones could be approved the quickest. At the time when we saw their clinical development plans, we weren't convinced they'd be done that quickly. But the real testament here is to the companies who worked so well, so efficiently. They did everything at risk. They didn't wait for one set of results before deciding on the next set. They did everything overlapping, and they worked with the regulators and all those good things. So the speed of which the vaccines were developed and approved is definitely the accolade should go to the industry and to the manufacturers and the people that did the bioprocessing and all those good things. And what the task force did was it scrutinised all the vaccines in development and made a judgment call of which ones would be there first. And that's what we should be proud of as a government. The government gave us that job. They, right from the top, Boris Johnson said, "Do it." There was nobody questioning that. Kate Bingham just said, "Let's do it," and we just did it. And we just worked night and day to make it happen. And so I think it showed the UK off in a good light. Good decision making, speed of decision making, and all those things. But getting vaccines into humans quickly was actually down to the companies that manufactured them.
Yeah, so you've talked about how the bio industry really came together to make all this happen. So how important was the collaboration between the different moving parts of the sector, so academia, industry and the government, and kind of what challenges had to be overcome to bring those people together?
So in normal times, the challenges would have been huge. But when you've got an enemy and everybody's focused on the same thing, there weren't really any challenges. It was all a matter of let's do it, and everybody piled in. So, but I do think that academia played an amazing role, obviously, in the design of the AZ vaccine. That was all out of academia. There were academics involved in all the setting up all the right systems, the test systems, the neutralization assays, and all that good stuff was done partly in academia. And then the sort of biotech sector in the UK, which isn't yet huge, but is very vibrant, they came together. So Oxford Biomedica, for instance, became the manufacturing arm of AZ for their vaccine. Our clinical infrastructure, NIHR, came in very quickly. You know, they helped us put in place clinical studies and did them faster than probably anyone's ever done clinical studies. The example I quote is Novavax, where NIHR and the person in the task force leading that managed to recruit 15,000 people in 6 weeks. And that's just, I think that probably is a world record, actually, even though we don't talk about it as a record. And so everybody came together, and it was very much all for one and one for all. It wasn't normal life. And you know what it's like in normal life. Everybody wants to negotiate their position before they start, and they want to see what's in it for them. There was none of that. This was fighting something that was killing people, and we wanted to stop it.
Amazing. So what lessons have been learnt, and what's been done to prepare us for any new variants that could evade the current vaccine or for future pandemics?
So I think the one lesson that the UK, well, I think the government learned, was our manufacturing base in the UK was small. And if we're going to be resilient in the future, we at least have to have that manufacturing capacity and that knowledge and that know-how in the UK in all the different aspects of manufacturing biopharmaceuticals. And so we've sort of, as we've gone along, we've filled in the gaps. So now we've got a much stronger UK base. We know we've got Valneva now that makes live inactivated viral vaccine up in Scotland. Oxford Biomedica have proven their worth. We've got the CPI unit doing making RNA vaccines, and many other parts. We've got the Catapult helping with the Braintree site, turning that into a manufacturing site, and VMIC is now extended to do fill and finish. So when we look at the footprint, and in fact Fuji are also making the Novavax vaccine up in Stockton-on-Tees. So if you look that's from ground zero. We had one manufacturer in the UK at the beginning of the pandemic. And not only have we delivered vaccines, but we brought together the community and the expertise to build more manufacturing capacity. And long should live, you know, we need to do more of it, and we need to build on that.
And I guess as we try to move on from COVID, what are the challenges and opportunities are there for the UK in the biosector? Well,
the challenges haven't changed. The challenges are what they always were, which is partly funding. You know, the companies that come here and start looking good always get bought by foreign companies, mainly American companies, end up being on the American shores, so they don't build their full value chain in the UK. And that can change, and probably will, if we get more success and more activity. But really what we've got to do now, and I believe we can do it, and I think with the new life sciences, industrial life sciences strategy that's been refreshed by John Bell, which I'm actively helping with, can do something really quite sensational here now. Because what we've seen is the UK really does have the capabilities, and we've been on the world stage, and we've proved we're as good as, if not better than, anywhere else. And people have looked at us and gone, wow, how have you done all that? And I know for a fact that many of the large biopharmaceutical companies and pharmaceutical companies are looking to the UK as a place to now base some of their activities. We must capture that. We must make that happen. And I think there are ways that we can do it without really changing a huge amount. What we offered to the world when we were doing this was an incredibly good clinical development base. The combination of what we've got within the NHS with NIHR and the ability to have all these principal investigators doing studies, we've got to capitalize on that. So companies that are making new products come to the UK to develop them, and we make that the easiest route possible. We can give them as much help and support and make sure we can do it quickly. That will attract them here, and then on top of that, I think we need to incentivize them to start developing their manufacturing base here with those products. So I think there's a lot out there that we've done. I mean, the one thing that we haven't talked about, which was part of why it was so successful, was the registry, the vaccine registry. We need to capitalize on that too, because knowing that you've got a pool of patients or people in volunteers, in fact, for vaccines, but would be patients for other diseases that are ready and waiting to join trials. That speeds up trials. That means people want to come and do them here. We've got a fabulous regulatory authority that have proven how nimble they can be and how fleet of foot without doing anything to the safety standards and being rigorous. So if we can get all that working and make it an offer to the world, and if you look now at what we've done in sort of bioprocessing around these, because these are all complex products, and we've shown that we can make them, then the world should see it. This is a place to come and do that.
Brilliant. And I guess finally, what's next for you?
Well, I've still got my day job. I'm still CEO of C4X Discovery. We've got some great products. We've just done a big licensing deal with Sanofi on an IL-17 inhibitor, which is going to be useful in inflammatory diseases. We've got others in the pipeline in inflammatory diseases. And I've just started working with a few smaller startup vaccine companies that I'm going to try and help turn them into the next Pfizer BioNTech.
Brilliant. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Clive. It's been amazing to hear all about how the UK was so successful in the current pandemic and what's coming up in the future. And look forward to speaking to you again soon.
Thanks very much, Jen. Nice to speak to you. Bye.